Civics isn't just memorizing the branches of government. It's learning how power works and how rights are protected, how decisions are made, and what responsibilities come with living in a republic. I'm Matt Hasquin, a high school history, government, and civics teacher at a small rural public high school in south central Illinois. And this is Civics Questions Worth Asking. And today's question is one that shows up in a lot of political arguments, and that is, are we a democracy, a republic, or both? And I've answered this question in numerous videos before, but it seems like it's appropriate to come up again. And the short answer here is both. And a lot of you have just scrolled away. But what we need to be careful with is what the words mean. When people say the United States is a democracy, they usually mean that the people have a voice in government. Citizens vote, elections matter, public opinions, they matter, and leaders are supposed to be, answerable to the people. They're supposed to answer the people, the consent of the governed, like I talked about in the last video. And in that sense, yes, the United States is a democracy. It is democratic. But the United States is not a pure democracy, a direct democracy, where citizens vote directly on every law, every policy, every public position, public decision. And this kind of, like, if you go back in history, we're talking about ancient Athens, or if you look at some small New England towns, you go to New Hampshire or something like that, where everybody comes together to make those decisions. It's just not really practical to have a direct democracy on the large scale that we have, and we have over 330 million people in our country. Now, in a republic, the people govern through representatives, representation. Citizens elect people to make the laws, to carry out public responsibilities, and to make decisions on their behalf. And that's why we elect members of Congress, and we have state legislators and governors and mayors and village presidents and school board members and county officials and even presidents. And so the people are still the source of political authority, but they usually exercise that authority through their elected representatives. And the representatives are supposed to act on behalf of their constituents, those who put them into office. That's the republic part of this. But there is another layer to this. The United States is not just a republic. You add to that the fact that we are a constitutional republic. And that means elected officials do not have unlimited power. A constitution, by definition, small c constitution, is a plan of government. So when it comes down to it, a constitution is how a government should function. And since elected officials don't have unlimited power, we're looking at, even if someone wins an election, they are still limited by the Constitution, by the Bill of Rights, the courts, the federal system, the layering of the government, the separation of powers, and also the rule of law. And so a majority can win an election, but the majority simply cannot erase, free speech, or ignore due process, or take property without legal protections, like through eminent domain, or punish people for unpopular beliefs. And that matters because democracy by itself answers one question. And that question is, what do the people want? But constitutional government asks another question, and that is, what is the government allowed to do even when the people want it? And that's one of the key tensions when it comes down to American civics. We believe in majority rule, but we also believe in minority rights. Now, we're talking about majority of opinion versus minority of opinion, not racial or ethnic or any of those kind of majority versus minority things. We, as Americans, believe elections should have consequences, but we also believe there are limits on what elected officials can do. We believe that people should govern, but we also believe individual rights should not disappear just because a majority is angry or afraid or impatient. So when someone says, we are a republic, not a democracy, they're partly right. But that is really, it's often too simplistic. We are not a pure or direct democracy. But we are a democracy in the broader sense that the people vote, participate, debate, organize, and hold leaders accountable. And when someone says, we are a democracy, they're also partly right. But that needs clarification too, because we are a representative democracy. We are a republic. We are a constitutional republic. We are a system where the people govern, but they do so through institutions and laws and limits, and through elected representatives. And that system can be very frustrating because it moves slowly. It divides power. It makes change difficult. It also gives people many different places to argue and to vote and to challenge and to appeal and participate. But that's not an accident, because the American system was designed to keep power from becoming so concentrated, too concentrated in one person or one branch or one level of government, even one temporary majority. So, are we a democracy, a republic, or both? The best answer is both, because we are democratic because the people are supposed to be the source of political power, the consent of the governed. We are small r Republican because the people usually govern through elected representatives. And we are constitutional because both the people and their representatives are limited by law and by rights. And so the real civic question is not whether we can win an argument by choosing one word over the other. The real question is whether our system still allows the people to govern, to protect the rights of individuals, and whether it keeps power accountable. That's why words matter. And it's a civics question that's worth questioning. So if you're one of those folks that hung around here to the end, and like in the last video, that'd be the 1.7%. But anyway, so if you're here for the too long, didn't watch aspect of this particular video, we're talking about, hey, you know what? Are we a democracy or a republic or both? The United States is not a pure democracy, but it is democratic. It is a republic because citizens govern themselves through representatives. It is constitutional because both the people and representatives, are elected representatives, are limited by laws and rights. And so the simple answer is yes, we are both. This is one of those kind of things that comes up so many times in comment sections and stuff like that, where people just try to lob words back and forth against each other, as like trying to get the upper hand. But really, it comes down to like, this is a compromise answer. But the thing is, it's true. We're not one edge of the spectrum versus another when it comes to democracy or a republic. We are a little bit of both. Thanks for watching.